Guys, it's Sarah from Rocky Hedge Farm, and I'm in the garden this morning, so I just thought I would bring you guys along for a little bit of a video tour, show you what this space looks like, what I have planted so far this year, and talk a little bit about what our future plans are for this space. This is our small garden space, and I actually just started working on this last year. I built the raised beds out of cedar picket fence boards. And so I just have 8 currently, but one of the things I hope to do this year is to add at least 4 more beds. I still have sweet potatoes to put in and a few other things. I'm actually quite behind in garden planting this year. I've just been so busy with working at the other property and trying to get some things done. In the first bed, I have some strawberry plants that were given to me from my sister-in-law, and I just have 2 of them that's going really strong right now. And they'll put out a lot of runners, and eventually this whole bed will be full of strawberries. To the side of the strawberries this year, there's some green bean plants. We actually eat a lot of green beans in our family. It's probably our favorite vegetable, so that's why there's so many beds filled with the green beans. They're easy to can, easy to cook, and so we use a lot of those. A couple of years ago I planted a garden and I mixed a lot of perennials, annuals in with my vegetables, and I loved that garden. It was a beautiful space to work in. I had a lot of pollinators that came, and so I'm trying to incorporate that in this garden as well. And last fall I planted this peony, and now it won't bloom this year, but it should bloom next year. And then around the peony I have a lot of cosmos that are starting to come up, and these will bloom all summer long and will provide a lot of fresh cut bouquets for us. This is the tomato bed, and you can tell that I only have 2 tomatoes so far this year, and I also don't have my trellis strung back up, but I'm hoping that I can get to that this weekend. Another vegetable that we use a lot of is onions, and so there's 2 beds full of those, but once I harvest those I'll put something else in these beds. And so that's one thing I love about being a gardener, is that when one thing is finished I can just add another into the bed and continue on with the season. Something else that you may notice that I don't have in all the beds just yet is all of my garden labels. I bought these last year and I love them. I just use a paint marker to mark whatever's in the bed and then hang them up, but I actually did order some metal stakes this year and they've not arrived yet. So once those get here, I will hang up all of the slate garden markers for each of the beds. This bed will eventually be our asparagus bed. If there's anything we love as much as green beans, it's asparagus. So these plants are in their first year, maybe their second year, I'm not quite sure. This is my first time growing it, and I actually purchased these plants from a local greenhouse. Next to the asparagus is bell peppers, and I'm actually growing a new color this year. It's going to be a lilac color, so I'm really excited to see that. And then I have the traditional orange as well. You may see this stuff right here on the garden bed. That's not supposed to be in there. We have this huge locust tree that we've got to take out that sits right next to the garden. Imagine I'll end up putting a smaller tree back in this area somewhere, but the locust drops all of that stuff into my garden bed, and so it makes quite a mess. And then this is the little potting shed that needs a little bit of love. The door's kind of starting to fall apart on it, but this is another area where I spend a lot of time with planting flowers and trying to make it look beautiful. In the wash tubs to the right, that's a comfrey plant. And then to the left I have peonies, and in that little wash tub there's more cosmos. If you've been following along on our journey of the new property, we just purchased that piece with the wheels and then the galvanized bucket are both pieces that I found over there while cleaning that out, and I just put them together and they made the perfect planter for the cosmos. I really enjoy using vintage metal junk pieces in the garden. I think they add a huge interest. And reason I love pieces like this, especially behind the peonies, is I can go in and wind the peonies up through that, and it helps to hold them up throughout the season. So just between this garden bed and the garden shed right here is quite an empty space, and that's because that's where a chicken coop is going to go eventually. I've always enjoyed the idea of having my chickens near the garden, and so that's going to become a reality for me here within the next short period of time. I love shade plants, especially hostas and oak hydrangeas, which is what is in this bed right here. I use rocks for a lot of the borders in my flower beds just because we have no lack of rocks around here, which is partly how we have the name Rocky Hedge Farm. And something else I hope to do this year is to be able to label all of the hostas so I know exactly which ones I have. There's hundreds and hundreds of varieties, and of course I only have a very slight few of them. So I have huge visions for this place. I hope to add at least 4 more garden beds this year. I want to add a few garden trees and some more flower beds here. And just behind me are our fruit trees, and that's where our orchard area will be. I have some elderberry plants that I need to get in the ground, and then hopefully next year we'll add blueberries and blackberries to this space. So it's come a long way since last year, but it still has a long way to go. I hope you guys have enjoyed this short little tour of what our garden looks like in the month of May. I hope to do this every month and just show you guys some of the progress that we make in this space. Besides adding more garden beds, probably the most exciting thing for me is adding the chicken coop and being able to plant more shade flowers around that, and then share with you guys some of my favorites when it comes to shade plants, and I think that's just going to add a lot to this area as well. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those in the comments below, or you can also visit me on the blog at rockyhedgefarm.com. Don't forget to hit subscribe below so that you can stay up to date with all the latest happenings here on the farm.